Hi, this is Miss Lou, and today we're going to be talking about hue and saturation. Now, if you remember back to our notes, we did define hue, and hue is basically just another name for color. Saturation is the vibrancy or in the intensity that a color has. So in this case, we're going to be looking at two ways to manipulate images using color. In the first image, what we're going to want to do is change the color of something in the image. So the first thing we're going to do is capture the iris, which is the colored part of the eye, and you can use any of these selection tools that we learned previously. In my case, I'm going to go ahead and just use the magnetic lasso and just kind of go around. If it's not perfect, that's okay. You can modify as you need. So I'm going to take my magic wand, go into the options bar and click subtract. And if I need to, I will zoom in. Don't ever be worried about zooming in or afraid to zoom in, because that's how you can get some really nice detail work done. So see how I grabbed a little bit of the white of the eye. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract that. And then I also notice I'm going to click unite because there's a little bit of green that I missed right in there and on that side. So I might fix that little tiny bit. Okay, so it looks good. The better your selection is, the nicer and more realistic your color change is going to be. So up in the menu bar, you're going to see image, and you want to click on adjustments, and it pulls up another menu, and you want to go to hue and saturation. Hue and saturation, you can see all of these bars here. So hue, again, affects the color. Saturation will affect how vibrant that color is. And lightness is if your photo is a little bit dark and you want to add some lightness to it, that's fine. But keep in mind, this is probably the least used bar that I've ever used, just because I feel like because it lightens everything within the selection. It almost can make it look like there's like a white film over what you have. So be really selective with what you use that for. So I'm just going to play with hue, and you'll notice right away the colors changing. And if you play with the saturation, you can bump that color up further, or you can make it a little bit more desaturated or grayed out. So I kind of like it a little bit bold. And when you're happy with it, just click OK. We're going to come out of it just a little bit and deselect. So if you recall, Control and the letter D on your keyboard will deselect it. And look, because I was very careful in how I selected it, the color change did not affect any other part of the skin or eyes, and it just looks almost natural, except for the color being unnatural. So on the black and white eye, we can add color to this. So similar to manual photographers when they would take their black and white photos and hand paint color on top, it's very, very similar process, but of course a digital version. So again, we're going to take the magnetic lasso and kind of carefully go around. It's a little stubborn, and you want to try to avoid going outside. So I will have to add a few anchors myself just to make sure it's not grabbing something I don't want it to grab. So again, I'm going to zoom in. Oops. Zoom in, and I missed a little bit of the black area in here. I'm not going to be too concerned about it. This I'm a little bit more concerned about. So you can see how zooming in really gives you a better perspective. So I'm going to go ahead and start over again, and this time I'm going to use the ellipse. So I'm going to start in the upper left-hand corner, go ahead and grab my ellipse, and remember that you can hold down the space bar in order to shift your selection over. Let go of the space bar and you can start sizing your ellipse again. That's much better, I think. And it does have a little bit of extra here, so that's where you can, if you have a steady hand, use your lasso select, or you can use your magnetic, whichever one is easier for you. I'm going to make sure it's on subtract, and I'm just going to use my steady hands to draw a circle around the selection that I don't want. And if it has a little bit of what might be the skin still, but it's all black, it's okay, because what we're going to do is not going to affect anything that is pure white or pure black. So I'm going to go ahead and fit it back, or I'm sorry, subtract it back to the normal size. And then we're going to go back up to image, back to adjustments, back to hue saturation. And when you see me changing the hue, you notice that nothing's happening. That's because right now it's black and white. There is no color to adjust. So what we're going to do is click on this little colorize box. And again, it looks like nothing's happening. And if you switch this, it still does not look like anything's happening, but that's because we need to bump up the saturation, make it a little bit more vibrant. Now you can instantly see color flooding in, and this is where you can now shift your color to whatever you want. You can really saturate, although at a certain point it's a little too fakey. So even though violet is not necessarily a normal eye color, we still want it to look a little believable, so I'm going to leave it a little tiny bit desaturated, just a hint of color. When you're okay with what you've done, click OK. I'm going to deselect my selection, and now you can see it looks like it belongs there. So these are two ways that you can play with color in your photos, and if you have any questions as you complete your practice, just let me know. Thank you for watching.